2.1 million registered voters in Texas stand to get purged from the voter rolls.
That's if they do not vote in the upcoming presidential election. Tonight, the KHOU 11 Verified team is clearing up misconceptions about how this suspense list works. Here's Sherman Chow.
A viral post that's been seen more than 4 million times on X claims a voter is listed as suspended but can still vote if their personal information is updated. Additional questions have been asked to the KHOU 11 Verified team about what the state of Texas calls the suspense list. Viewer Seisha asks, is it true millions of Texas voters are being removed from the voting pool? We went to our sources, including the Fort Bend Elections Administrator, the League of Women Voters Texas, the Brennan Center for Justice, and the Texas Secretary of State's office.
Every state in the country conducts regular voter list maintenance, and in effect, they're required to do so by federal law.
Texas is one of 44 states, along with the District of Columbia, that must abide by the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. The law requires voter roll maintenance. However, the rules vary on how states maintain them. The suspense list is one of Texas's methods.
You end up on the suspense list if a voter registrar has reason to believe that you have moved.
Here's how the process works. The registrar sends a replacement voter registration certificate to the registered voter's address. Now, this is a non-forwardable piece of mail, and failure to return it, or if it comes back as undeliverable, lands you on the suspense list because the address couldn't be validated. Texas has a time frame for how long you can stay on the suspense list before you are purged from the polls.
You're only removed if you have missed 2 federal election cycles, so about 4 years.
So, yes, it's true millions of Texas voters could be removed from voter rolls if they do not vote in the 2024 presidential election. So how to end your suspense? Update your address. One way, do it online at votetexas.gov before the October 7th voter registration deadline for the November election. However, if on election day you are still on the suspense list, you will be able to vote.
All you have to do is attest to your address. You'll just fill out a form at the polling location, and you will be able to vote that day, and you will be off of the suspense list.
With your Verify, I'm Sherman Chow.
And online now, the KHOU 11 Verified team has the latest breakdown for counties in our area on how many voters are on the suspense list. It's easy to reach out to us, by the way, with your Verify questions. Simply send an email to us at verify@khou.com.
There have been reports of non-citizens registering to vote in Texas elections.
Tonight, the KHOU 11 Verified team clears up the misinformation. Here's Marcelina Benito.
A post that's been seen more than 2 million times on X falsely claims immigrants were registering to vote in Parker County, Texas, west of Fort Worth. The claim dispelled by the chairman of the Parker County Republican Party, but it led to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton opening an investigation. The incident has led to questions about the legality of non-citizens registering to vote. So let's verify. In Texas, is it legal for non-citizens to register to vote? We went to our sources, including the various sections of Texas law, the Brennan Center for Justice, the Texas League of Women Voters, and the Texas Secretary of State's office. To register to vote in Texas, you must attest to being a citizen of the U.S. It's the first question on the form.
Every state, including Texas, requires every voter, when they register, to swear under penalty of perjury that they are a United States citizen.
Texas's 2021 election law, dubbed SB 1, enhanced penalties, including possible jail time for non-citizens registering to vote. The law also created a system of checks and balances by using Department of Public Safety records and the Secretary of State's office to verify the accuracy of citizenship status. The answer to, is it legal for non-citizens to register to vote in Texas, is no. It's illegal for non-citizens to register to vote in Texas and does carry the possibility of prosecution.
The incidence of non-citizens getting registered is vanishingly rare. It almost never happens, in large part because people aren't willing to falsely swear under penalty of perjury that they're a citizen of the United States. The consequences for doing so are extremely dire.
When it comes to who can register people to vote, the 1993 National Voter Registration Act requires the Texas Secretary of State's office to make voter registration applications available through governmental and private entities. The law puts emphasis on also making applications available for organized voter registration programs. Across social media, this post claiming an election poll worker marking your ballot could invalidate your vote led viewers to ask the KHOU 11 Verified team if this claim is true. So here's the question. Would a poll worker marking your ballot invalidate it in Texas? We went to our sources, including the Fort Bend County Election Administrator, the Texas Secretary of State's office, the Texas Election Code, and the League of Women Voters of Texas. The social media post lacks information on where the poll worker training took place, leading anyone who spots the post online to believe this could happen where they live. Now here's the thing, election guidelines vary from state to state, and in Texas, a valid ballot will have writing on it when a voter receives it.
So all the ballots will have either a stamped or an inked signature on the back of them. For early voting, it's the early voting clerk's signature, and then on election day, it is the precinct judge's signature. And that is required by state law, so if it doesn't have that signature, it's an invalid ballot.
So would a poll worker marking your ballot invalidate it in Texas? The answer here is no. A marking by a poll worker does not invalidate a ballot cast in Texas. In the state, all ballots must contain the signature of the precinct presiding judge or the early voting clerk for the ballot to be valid.
I think it was just a misinformation viral video that happens.
Counties rely on poll workers through every election cycle. Election workers undergo training on issuing ballots, checking in voters, testing voting machines, and more. If you need assistance voting, you can ask a poll worker for help. And if you make a mistake marking your ballot, not to worry. Texas law allows voters to receive up to 2 additional ballots.
And if you're voting by mail this year, heads up, you will have to pay for postage for the application and your ballot.
Yeah, so do voters have to foot the bill for postage on all election mail? Marcelino Benito verifies.
Texas is one of a handful of states that require specific reasons to allow people to vote by mail. And for those who qualify, the application and later the ballot will need to be sent to county election offices. Viewer Karen sent in a question about paid postage for election mail. So, does Texas offer prepaid postage for all election mail? To verify, we went to our sources, the U.S. Postal Service, the National Conference of State Legislatures, and the Texas Secretary of State's office. USPS considers election mail to be voter registration cards, polling place notifications, mail-in ballot applications, and the actual mail-in ballot. These items should come with an election logo, but USPS does not require states to actually use it. In Texas, the logo will come on mail-in ballot applications and the mail-in ballot carrier envelope. Both need postage to be provided by the voter. The KHOU 11 Verified team found in the Texas Election Code, the state does cover the postage costs for voter registration applications. Voters can request a prepaid postage form from the Texas Secretary of State's office. So no, Texas does not have prepaid postage for all election mail. Your mail-in ballot applications and mail-in ballot must be sent with postage. USPS requires election officials to let voters know the amount of postage required to mail the ballots in. If mail-in ballots do not have proper or sufficient postage, USPS says they will deliver the mail and recover the costs from the local election board. With your Verify, I'm Marcelino Benito.
And we put everything you need to know about the election in one easy spot. Text the word VOTE to 713-526-1111 for a link to our KHOU 11 voter guide. You'll be able to find a list of voting locations near you, check voter registration status, and sample ballots. Just text the word VOTE, 713-526-1111.
Our baby would never survive.
And now my life was on the line.
Election ads from the Colin Allred campaign link U.S. Senator Ted Cruz to Texas' abortion ban.
The care we needed was denied.
Because of Ted Cruz and the extremist abortion ban.
We received several questions from viewers about Cruz's involvement in the ban. So here's what we can verify about Ted Cruz's position on abortion. Our sources include the Ted Cruz for Senate campaign, the U.S. Senate roll call records, and Brandon Rottinghouse, a political science professor at the University of Houston. With more than a decade as a U.S. Senator, Ted Cruz has a long documented history of being pro-life.
I believe abortion's a tragedy.
Cruz has gone on the record defending Texas's abortion law while in the Senate. It happened in 2021.
Texas made a perfectly reasonable decision to protect life.
The hearing concerned Texas's Heartbeat Act, which prevents doctors from performing or inducing an abortion after a fetal heartbeat is detected. Several of the Allred campaign ads highlight Texas's abortion ban not having an exception for rape and incest.
So whether you were raped or something went tragically wrong and your life is at risk,
Women are now forced to flee Texas for care.
While seeking the Republican presidential nomination in 2016, Cruz believed there should be no exceptions for rape and incest.
Rape is a horrific crime against the humanity of a person and needs to be punished and punished severely. But at the same time, as horrible as that crime is, I don't believe it's the child's fault.
8 years later, appearing on WFAA's Inside Texas Politics, Cruz had this to say.
Would you support any exceptions for rape or for incest, Senator?
So I have supported legislation that has exceptions for rape and incest, but the reality today is these issues are not being decided at the federal level. They're being decided at the state level.
U of H political science professor Brandon Rottinghouse says going after Ted Cruz's history on abortion could be a key factor for Cruz's challenger.
Women, especially college-educated women, are going to vote for Democrats in big numbers, and Allred needs that turnout, especially in suburban areas, in order for him to close the margin between he and Senator Cruz.
Hotly contested Senate race between U.S. Senator Ted Cruz and U.S. Representative Colin Allred. An issue that Texans repeatedly ask about are claims made in this ad from the Cruz campaign.
Colin Allred voted to allow boys in girls' bathrooms, boys in girls' locker rooms, boys and girls' sports.
So are these claims true? We went to our sources, including Brandon Rottinghouse, University of Houston political science professor, and the campaigns of Ted Cruz and Colin Allred. The claims in the ad come from two different House bills, the 2021 Equality Act and 2023 Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act.
Boys in girls' locker rooms, boys and girls' sports.
Most of the claims in the ad are from the Sports Act, a Republican-backed bill nearly all Democrats in the House opposed. Now, according to the Allred campaign, it was strongly opposed by educators and educator groups as a politically motivated bill that notably did not strengthen any Title IX protections for women and girls in sports. Finally, this claim over bathroom access.
Voted to allow boys in girls' bathrooms.
This claim is from the 2021 Equality Act, a Democrat-backed bill. The bill called for prohibiting discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. It also prohibited denying access to shared facilities, including restrooms and locker rooms, but it was not the sole focus of the legislation, so both claims need context. The vote on both bills was along party lines. Colin Allred voted with his fellow Democrats.
Colin Allred has presented himself as a middle-of-the-road Democrat, and on some issues that's definitely true.
U of H professor Brandon Rottinghouse says using the claims is all part of a strategy to make Allred appear more liberal.
What Ted Cruz wants to do here is remind Republican conservative voters that Allred is still a Democrat, and he's still voting with his party most of the time, especially when it comes to these hot-button social issues.
We have to let you know political ads are not required to be factual. The political claims made in the ads are considered protected speech under the First Amendment. With your Verify, I'm Marcelino Benito.